The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
In 1783, two French brothers, Joseph and Jacques Montgolfier, demonstrated for the first time a lighter-than-air flying machine. Now, in the same country, in a similar contraption, we look down at Circuit de la Sarthe. It wasn't around in 1783, but almost, and today it plays host to round 13 of 15 on the iRacing Drivers Association GT3 series schedule. And you'll be able to watch all the action from the drivers running across the track to climb in behind the wheel to the victory croissants live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing channel. This nostalgically wishful and clouded, streamy award-worthy 15-minute pre-race show will count down to the green flag when our field of Mercedes, BMWs, Audis, McLarens, and Fords accelerate through the Dunlop curve towards the Dunlop chicane, starting the clock on this 60-minute contest. So bring cyberspace into your place. Talk yourself into trying some escargot. Wash them down with some sparkling Perrier. Sit back and enjoy the simulated road course excitement that will be streaming your way. Bonjour and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Soupson. Helping me call the action is the host of A British American's Guide to This Weekend in Motorsports, Samuel Ryman. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is the hardest working man in sim racing broadcasting, Joe Peak. And at his disposal are the cam locations provided by Dougie Beard. As always, this broadcast is made possible thanks to the good folks at The Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia. And to keep things interesting, 500 bloomin' onions will be served up on the prize platter. Sam, we've been watching races at this venue all of our lives, but recently, thanks to the inclusion in the virtual iRacing universe, we've been able to race on it ourselves. This is the first time GSRC has visited Le Mans, so you get the honor of doing the first on-air track description.
Yes, well, there you can see, and the graphics do not always do these justice, that it is a very big track indeed. We unfortunately can't make it to scale, otherwise it would take up more than the screen, but there are 38 turns in total. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot here, but that's because it was taken, basically drawn as if you were about half a mile up in the air or so. It is over 8 miles in length, and of course the great thing about a lot of straights and a lot of corners means there are a lot of overtaking opportunities around the circuit, especially on down the back straight, with those little famous chicanes breaking up the Mulsanne Straight. And then, of course, you got a few more twisty bits leading you back to the line. And these drivers will have plenty of time to make the most of those overtaking opportunities in a 1 hour race that's just 10 minutes away. And, hey, we know you all want to see what it's like from the driver's perspective, rather than just a little track map here. So let's go down trackside and go around this place with our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around the Circuit de la Sarthe. First, we'll fly down the imposing start-finish straight with its huge grandstands and buildings. Thankfully, the track has been widened a lot since its very early days. Up next is the Dunlop curve, which can't quite be taken flat out if you're hitting the line right. A little lift sets you up for the Dunlop chicane, which is tighter and slower than it looks. That then brings you over the crest and under the famous Dunlop Bridge for the Chapel Rundown. Hold to the right to give yourself the best entry into the Forest S's. The first half has a lot of banking, but the right-hander dumps into a crest. Be wary of being too eager on the power because the car can get away from you. Then, it's a short burst to Tertre Rouge. Getting on the power as soon as possible is going to be so important out of this right-hand flick, because other than the Antares, it's going to be a long straight shot to the first chicane. In fact, since it's flat out for so long, let's skip ahead. You can brake pretty deep for the Forza chicane, but you've got to be careful not to compromise your corner exit. The paved runoff should save you from most of your mistakes, but it's still not going to make for a happy time. Expect overtakes to happen coming into and out of the chicane. Fast forwarding once again, make sure and have your brake marker picked out for the second big braking event on this stretch, then throw out the anchor. The Michelin chicane is almost a mirror image of the first one, and just like before, the corner exit is all important. From there, the Mulsanne kink brings us to within sight of the Mulsanne corner. We're gonna skip ahead to that, where you can see it's not a straight shot into the braking zone. The addition of the roundabout in the 80s has made it all the more tricky slowing the car up into this tight 90-degree bend. Don't be afraid to straddle that outside curb on the exit. Every little bit of momentum will be useful, so take the track to its limits. Yet again, let's chop off a long portion of straight and show you the entry to Indianapolis. This right-hand kink requires you to turn in and brake at the same time. Bring the car back across the track and use the banking as much as you can. Tuck it right down to that apex, then switch sides after you swing it out. Arnage is a deceptively slow bend that invites you to enter far too hot. There's very little runoff to the outside, so it's not uncommon to see cars make contact with the wall here. The car then blasts its way towards the Porsche curves, which reside at the end of this flat-out section. As you enter, bring the car far to the left and use the turn to help scrub off speed. Hold tight to the right, and from there, it starts to feel a little like a street course with that blue wall to the outside of the bridge corners. These then bring you into karting, where things get much slower. Once again, tuck the car all the way to the right because you need the best line into the left-hander. Even though the outside is paved, going wide will hurt because you'll get a slowdown penalty. From there, you'll fly through the right-left of Maison Blanche, which literally translates to White House, and then it's time for the Ford chicane. This first half is pretty fast, but you want to keep the car settled so that you can brake for the second half. Things get really tight now that the track rejoins the Bugatti circuit. Try to both stay off those tall curves and keep it out of the gravel. From there, we've now finished a lap around the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Joe Peak with another great narration around this historic venue. Now, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the iRacing Drivers Association is going pink. The IDA's home base of Australia has many technologically advanced cancer centers, such as the Olivia Newton-John Center and Wellness Center in Heidelberg, Genesis Cancer Care and the MacArthur Cancer Service, both in Sydney, Townsville Cancer Center in Douglas, Calvary Modern Newcastle Hospital in Warahat. Then, of course, there's always the Peter MacCallum Health Center and the Epworth Radiation Oncology, both in Melbourne. But you're watching the global Sim Racing channel, so along with the IDA, GSRC urges everyone to find a charity close to you and join the fight. Now, speaking of a fight, albeit a much less serious nature, let's take a look at the championship, starting with the Drivers' Cup. Now, after Richard Hampstead scored big at Bathurst, Simon Fagel needed to strike back at Laguna Seca, but Laguna Seca saw Green Eggs finish second behind Gary Spyro-Sliced Hamilton. Fagel came home in fourth behind newcomer Ian Ford, but thanks to a 15-point penalty assessed to the winner Hampstead, the gap between the two front runners remained the same at 290 points. With 150 points being the max a driver can earn in any race, with only 2 races left after today, Fagel needs to finish ahead of Hampstead today, or Green Eggs could clinch the championship by the time the drivers get to the interview room. Joe Piesnik, Jeremiah Morton, and Justin Strickland hold station in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Looking at the team championship, unlike the drivers' championship, this one is still very much in doubt. Now, Lit Motorsports, manned by Jason Freer and Jeremiah Salty Morton, are still on top, but closing in is Evolution Racing 2 and Apex Mafia Racing. Now, Martin Slavossi and Mark Simon have had Apex Mafia climbing the ladder for the last several races, and ERA2 is a man down thanks to Zachary Hanlon's suspension. But that suspension is over after this race, so Riley Blythe needs to hang on for just one more time. Hampstead in Team TTL moves up a spot around Scott Tamlin's Dynamic Sim Racing number 1. So Sam, this race is very important and the rules could be a factor in who wins the championship. Tell us what the IDA officials have in store for this round.
It's a bit different every single race, isn't it? Well, first of all, let's give you an overview of the series. This is round 13 of a 15-round season, as you can see there. 1 drop week in points for each driver, most of which, if not all, have already probably used one. We got several GT cars racing here, some more popular than others. We tend to see a lot of Mercedes and Audis out there on the tracks, open setups, and then also you see the rest of the information down there. No fast repairs, that usually plays quite key. That means if we see a big incident, okay, yes, it is Le Mans. We usually say a big incident at Le Mans, get the car back to the garage and get going because you've got 24 hours. Well, for these drivers today, they just have 1 hour, and that brings us to our race format. A standard race format when you're talking about just a 1 hour race. A 40-minute qualifying session is what you see going on in the back of your screen right now, with our fastest lap currently being held by John Pleisnick. Now, the fuel, the drivers will have to make one stop. They have an 83% fuel tank. I think that'll put them a little over half race distance on fuel there, Bill. Not by much though, we'll have to wait and see. So there could be a few strategies, and of course the cool thing about iRacing is they can turn on and off cautions as they like. Cautions are basically turned off for this race, locally enforced only. So that means you don't want to get involved in any major incidents or screw up your strategy, because you won't really have a chance to get back up to the front. Now, I know you mentioned, Bill, that this is a huge points day, but I think it's a little bit like whose line is it anyway here today. The points don't matter to the whole drivers that much, because they just want to win here. Imagine if you could say you're the first driver in this series to win a race at the historic Le Mans.
That would be a nice feather in the cap for certain. Now, we talked about Hampstead picking up 15 penalty points at Laguna Seca, also getting their hands slapped with Jackson Freer and Anthony Winkleman both picked up another 15 points. And that 15 points that Hampstead picked up is going to keep Fagel in the hunt here for a little while longer. Now, Sam, I have some can lessons planned over there in France this weekend. Am I going to need an umbrella? What's the weather like right now?
None, Bill. You are not going to need an umbrella yet on iRacing. We don't have to worry about that a whole lot. In fact, it is quite sunny here. It is 86 degrees. There are a few clouds in the sky. Track temperature 97 degrees Fahrenheit, which sounds hot. It is hot, but it comparatively to what these drivers are used to racing on iRacing, that's relatively cool. The winds, though, are something a bit of a concern. They are easterly winds at 11 miles an hour, and I know we don't have our weatherman here to help us, but I believe that means these cars will be getting a bit of a tailwind going on down the back straight, which could create some exciting racing going into the chicanes.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. They're working on it right now. They have a little bit of practice time. They're getting in their qualifying laps. They're not going to have as many qualifying laps as usual here, with this being such a long way around. Real quickly, I've spent a little time alone getting used to this track. Sam, have you been on it yet?
Yes, but I only just created a temporary setup to see how fast it could go, and I kept topping out on the rev limiter on each straight. The good thing is these guys all know what they're doing. They're going to be getting up to very high speeds, and there you see it on screen right there, just how long some of these straights go on for. It's going to be unique, Bill. I'm really not sure what we're going to be in store for today, and hopefully, and I expect, it will be something quite exciting.
Must have been quite a different animal without the two chicanes that they put in there on the Mulsanne Straight. That would be quite a long run down there. I was doing some research. I hear the cars were getting up to 254 miles an hour before they put those things in there. All right, I think that the qualifying is virtually done, so we're going to try to hustle through this right now. Let's take it two at a time. We have time here. Sam, on the first row, it's Joe Piesnick. That's a familiar guy up there. And then Simon Fagel outside of row one. Sam?
Yeah, Riley Blythe, a solid qualifying effort there in third place. You see these times are spread out. Well, A, that's because it's a big track, and B, it's because drafters played a role in this qualifying session. Lined up alongside him, Richard Hampstead.
Justin Strickland in his McLaren, and newcomer Ian Ford, who picked up a podium position last time.
Then behind them are Anthony Winkleman, who took a W over at Bathurst, lined up alongside Mark Rayner.
Jack Maloney in the number 9 spot, and Philip Morton in 10th.
As we advance to the cars getting gridded up here, we've only got 17 cars starting. Mark Simon and David Drellins are the ones in 11th and 12th.
Jackson Freer, and then always a favorite, Nino Natal back there in 14th.
Yeah, and then Clint Smith, the league organizer, lined up alongside Jeremiah Morton.
Aaron Farmer, one of the funnest guys to keep an eye on. And then Tim Faltz did not put in a qualifying time, neither did Warren Pinkering. We'll see if they actually grid up. Warren is still out on the track right now, might be able to get one in here as they work it on their hot laps.
Yeah, actually, that will be worth watching. Tim Faltz, I can tell you for sure, won't. He is not in the server right now. And I'm not sure what the story behind that is, because he actually got removed from the server, so we might try and find out with Clint Smith later on after the race, but right now, he's actually one of the drivers getting set to start this in. You can see Warren Pickering still has a while to go before they get back around to the start line, so we won't we won't have the cars gridding up for a little bit here, but let's see what Warren can do.
I would assume he's still on a clean lap, or he probably would have called it a day by now. Working through the second chicane now. I believe this is officially called the Michelin chicane. I like to call it chicane number 2. Then back on another straight. Head down into this right-hander, which is... I kind of like this little right-hander bend that sets up at the hairpin here.
Yeah, this bend is a great little turn when your brakes work right. If your brakes don't, you're in trouble.
There it is right there, and then into this right-hander, and then back on the gas again for quite a while, as even though there are some turns here, it's pretty much flat out.
I'm just thinking in the back of my head that if iRacing ever imposed brake failures. Anyway, so Pickering goes through this little right-hander kink here, and then he comes into a hard left turn, which I got down on my script is named Indianapolis. It seems a lot of racetracks have turns called Indianapolis. Basically just means a 90-degree flattish left-hander.
Except Indianapolis doesn't have one. That's kind of ironic. There it is right there, that left-hander.
Yeah, so this is when you're beginning to think, okay, I got a few twists and turns in front of me, and we got information about why Tim Fatuz isn't part of the race here today. It's because he is a wildcard entry that made an appearance early in the season who hasn't been promoted to full-time, so I guess that limits him on the amount of races that he can attend. But as we watch Pickering end up his lap here, Bill, it's been pretty clean. He hasn't had anyone to draft off of, but the track is as rubbered in as it's going to get, so let's see what kind of time he can put across the line.
Kind of feel sorry for Tim not being able to come in and play with the rest of the reindeer. That's all right. Maybe it'll be
a couple
foggy.
Months early, yeah, Bill.
It'll be a little foggy, and he'll save the day.
Although the supermarkets will beg to argue with you.
No, I've already heard my first Christmas commercial already. Now they work through. This is a tricky little section here. It's probably the slowest part of the track. These little left, right sections to set you down into the start-finish line. We're going to get a time here for Tim. Let's see if it was official. And Timmy. Oh, there it is. 15th, so he picked up a couple spots from where he was going to start. Okay, now they're going to grid on up. Hopefully our equipment is going to work from us. There's been a new patch in iRacing that causes us to have a little bit of gremlins here between these sessions. So right now, as the drivers grid up, our director and Sam and myself are each trying to make sure that our software gets back to working.
You know, of course, the good thing on iRacing is tracks like this, as large as this one, they won't make the field do a full pace lap around the track. They'll probably start them somewhere towards the end of a lap. But I'm very curious to see how the start's going to work, Bill, because I think a leader will pretty much be able to go right after he gets out of a chicane, and that's going to leave some of the drivers towards the middle and the back of the field trailing. Now, of course, maybe they've told John, hey, you can't go until all the drivers are lined up on the front straight, which is, I think, how it usually works at Le Mans. And then, of course, that would create a huge pack of cars racing down through the Dunlop curve and into the S's, which could create some interesting moments.
Nice job there from Sam talking. Hopefully the director's having better luck with his software than I am, because, well, and sure enough, I think mine's going to come up as well. So we're looking good here. There was as I talked about, the new patch, but the good news is iRacing's going to be dealing with that soon, and GSRC and the rest of the broadcasters are going to be able to have less of a hassle. Okay, it looks like we're ready to go. Now let's see if all the drivers can get out there as well. Clint's Shane Smith talking to the drivers right now, explaining to them all the details of the race. One of the things that we don't have today that we have in the sister series, the Formula Renault series, is a live pace car. If you want to see something fun, tune in next week, every alternating Wednesday at this same time for the Formula Renault. They're going to be at Laguna Seca this week, I believe. And what happens there is we actually have a real driver come out and race and drive a BMW. I think it's a Porsche, actually, or it's a roof around in front of the car. Shane's still giving directions to everybody. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, only 11 cars who've taken the grid so far.
Yeah, it's a relatively small field here, Bill. I'm wondering what the reason behind that is, because I'm sure a lot of drivers would not pass up the opportunity to race around here at Le Mans. I'm guessing some drivers just haven't bought it yet, which kind of surprises me a bit. iRacing has really built itself around GT racing in the past few years. Would have figured that everyone would have bought Le Mans as soon as it came out. But whatever the case may be, we still have a solid field. We're going to have 18 cars take the green flag and race for an hour around here. And now they are all gridded up because the pace car's leading them away.
Honestly, the field is a little smaller than we've seen, but after 12 races under the belt here, we're working on 13 in the series, in the schedule right now. 18 still a pretty legitimate field this late in the schedule. It's just kind of the nature of the beast where it thins out as the series reaches its zenith. All right, that beautiful gold Ford pace car out in front.
Yeah, and John Peisnick is one of the drivers who races in the Ford GT, and he's actually going to be starting on the far side of your screen there. You can see the DeLorean-looking mobile with the pink wheels for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You'll see pink on every single car during this race. So John will be the one who has control of the field, not Simon coming out of the chicanes for the start here.
A lot of pink out there. Another pink scheme there on Fagel's machine.
And we have been informed that Warren Pickering, the driver that Bill was calling Timmy at the end of qualifying there, yeah, he's out on track, but we may have some technical difficulties with him registering on the system. We're not exactly sure yet until the green flag flies. So if Warren Pickering is picked up invisible by the iRacing server, don't worry, he is still being scored in timing and scoring, and he'll be starting at 15th and hopefully able to mix up in the top 10.
Fortunately for us, the pace car doesn't have to go all the way around. Now it pulls in right here. Then they just have this little left, right, and we'll be going. Keep an eye on that DeLorean up in front. It's the only Ford out there, driven by John Peisnick. He's going to be pacing the field. Boy, he has a nice jump out there. Let's see if he holds up or if he's going to go right now. And he gets going. A nice little run from second position there from Fagel.
Yeah, he really got on it coming out of the first turn. The battle is on for third place. Richard Hampstead and Riley Blythe already crisscrossing over each other, but Hampstead holds the position as they begin to go into lap 1 here of the Circuit de la Sarthe. We have one car overshooting the corner at the back there. That was Jackson Freer, and that results in Mark Simon having to go off course, and he loses a few positions.
Yeah, Simon got damage from disassociation there. He did nothing wrong, but there was trouble going on inside of him. Everybody's still on the track. All 18 cars have made it around so far. They work their way around the backside. Now past those, I'm going to call them palm trees. That's what they look to this California boy. Working their way now down this long Mulsanne straight.
Look at the draft that Fagel has got on Peisnick. He gets right up on the back on him, but he backs out of it. He's not going to make a move yet. maybe he's doing that knowing that if he made a move into the first chicane, Paisnik would just counter-attack going into the second chicane, or maybe even the hairpin, so he's going to bide his time. Meanwhile, Hampstead holding off Blythe for third place. Blythe has been blinking in and out. His connection seems to have cleared up a bit here, though. And also, just a while ago, you saw iRacing say Warren Pickering was down in last position because of that technical glitch. That's not the case. He's actually mixing it up there. Well, actually, no, he has had a bad start. He has dropped towards the back.
Yeah, I was looking for him. All right, let's go up front. Here comes Fagel now. Just feeling him out. What our director, Joe Peak, when he's behind the mic, likes to call some reconnaissance racing. Look at this bad exit from the Ford. And Fagel now has a run on the third section of this straight. And he's going to be in the preferred position here, Sam. I think he's probably going to get this done as they come up to this right-hand bend.
Yeah, I think Paisnik's bad exit actually helped him, because Fagel was going to challenge down into this hairpin no matter what happened, and the fact that Paisnik got a bad exit kind of prevented Fagel from getting a good run on him, but he still gets the job done. Fagel takes the lead, the battle is on for third, Richard Hampstead takes it from Blythe. There was also a battle for fifth. Justin Strickland comes out in front of Ian Ford in that.
That's a pretty good drag race we saw there from the Mercedes and the Ford. They looked pretty well evenly matched as they went down the straight. Nice camera angle there given to us from Dougie Beard as the cars go by. You see him coming, you see him going. Now, here comes the Ford looking to the outside.
Down onto the inside of Indianapolis. Boy, this back section of the track is really creating itself to good racing, and the reason you want to get up in front, of course, at this point is now you're getting into the twisty portion of the circuit where you can try and break that draft, but you're not going to do it that way.
There is action up front, but you can see well in the back. There's a nice battle from third all the way back. It's Blythe, Hampstead, Strickland, Ford, Winkleman, Rayner, Maloney, all nose to tail.
And they're going to want to stay that way. They know how critical the slipstream is on the back portion of the circuit. And of course, let's not forget that even though it's a 1 hour race, they're not going to have that many laps to take advantage of that because the circuit is so long around here. I mean, they're going to complete lap 1 with almost 4 minutes down on the clock.
Yeah, and we've seen 2 passes for the lead so far on the first lap. So Paisnik, so far, it looks like he's going to be able to hang on and get credit for leading lap number 1, even though he lost it for a large section of the lap.
Yeah, but he's not out of the woods yet. Fagel is still there on his rear wing. We saw the flyover taking place here just a few moments ago. Well, now all the action is back down on track where Fagel gets a bad exit out of the final turn. That's going to give Paisnik a bit of a gap, but not enough.
And the first official lap here on GSRC that we're covering at Le Mans is done. That's going to be led by John Paisnik. Took him 4 minutes and 4 seconds to get around. Of course, that might have been hindered a little bit by the rolling start, but we'll see how that plays out. He's out in front right now by about a half second on Fagel. Those guys are pulling away, though, Sam. It's about 1.5 seconds back to Blythe. In fact, Blythe has distanced himself a little bit from Hampstead.
Yeah, battle for 13th place going on right now. There'll be a lot of battles going on the moment. And it's Hampstead, of course, I'm being told that he's back on again. But yeah, Jackson Freer holds on to 13th head of Clint Smith.
Clint looking him up and down.
Tell you what, Paisnik's got a bit of a gap over Fagel here. Not enough. Fagel, it looks like he's actually going about 3 to 4 miles an hour faster than Paisnik, so they'll be able to ease up enough into that gap. He'll probably try and take a lead going down into the hairpin again. We'll wait and see if Paisnik is able to counter-attack. Bit loose there for Riley Blythe in third, but he holds on to the position.
Qualifying times differed by about 4 seconds from your fastest qualifier, John Paisnik, to Mark Simon. Mark was able to just get under the 4-minute mark at 3:59.5. Our pole sitter set at 3:55.4.
Oh, first crash of a race. Aaron Farmer gets into the wall. He has to take a tow into the pits. There was smoke coming out of that machine. He is disconnected. He is out of the race.
Just got the power down and that car came around on him. It looked like that was the first chicane. We're looking at it now. That's the left, right, left, and he started to get the power down to put it back onto the second part of the Mulsanne straight there and nosed it into the wall. No fast repairs, so his day is going to be done, I would assume.
Simon Fagel didn't try and attempt anything on Peisnick down the back straight. I wonder if that's because he was trying to set him up for a pass here, like what Peisnick did to him to get the lead of a race last lap. But Peisnick got a bad exit out of the hairpin, and Fagel couldn't really get a run. He gets a run late on down the straight. By this point, the track has gotten too narrow. They're going too fast, getting too close to the break-in point, and Fagel realizes, hey, I'll try again next lap.
As the field now works the way through Indianapolis, everybody's still getting through safely. Only one driver out, of course, that was... I forgot who that was. Oh, there was a farmer, yeah. Farmer that had the incident. Sam,
Yes.
I think with an hour, I think there's a good chance we might get everybody who's running still finishing on the lead lap with such a big course here.
If you finish a lap down here in this short 1 hour race, yeah, you've had
Yeah.
problems. Just to give you a heads up, there's with this new patch on iRacing, there's going to be some technical issues coming through. Simon Fagel is running with a bit of pink on his car, so he is out there supporting breast cancer awareness, as are the rest. I know his car looks black and blue on screen right there. Right now, John Peisnick doesn't care what colour it is, as long as it remains in his rearview mirror, as they come around to complete the second of probably about 15 laps here today.
Yeah, just so you know, everybody here at GSRC have done everything they can to make things work right, but we've clicked our heels 3 times, spun around, pulled out some eyelashes, but might still be having some gremlins.
One driver with a slowdown there, potentially. Winkleman. I also saw Philip Morton kick a bit of gravel up coming out of last turn.
Yeah, Winkleman losing position now. He's going to lose one to Philip Morton. David Jelling's going to get around him. Winkleman going to drop down into 11th position. He was running 8th when he crossed the start-finish line last time.
Riley Blythe's connection has begun getting really bad. In fact, I haven't seen him appear after the last time he blinked out. And this is starting to get concerning for Richard Hampstead, who's not too far behind him. I wonder if he's going to say, hey, Riley, you need to disconnect.
In fact, I'm not seeing Riley on my screen. There he is for me.
Yeah, you can see how long. I mean, that's dangerous. That could result in a potential collision. We'll have to wait and see if Richard pipes up about it. And sure enough, Riley Blythe. I'm wondering if this is just a smart decision by Riley here, because there's not a whole lot of pressure here from Justin Strickland in 5th place. Although, as I say that, because Riley did a unique route through that turn, he's lost a lot of momentum here, so Justin is closing in on him for 4th.
It's not often we can say that the best battle on the track is up front, but right now that's what's going on. Your best battle is between Peacenik and Fagel right now.
Yeah, let's see if Fagel waits to do anything with it here. I almost wonder, Bill, if he's trying to save fuel, because all these drivers, they've been practicing for, well, they had a 1 hour practice session, a 30-minute qualifying session, as well as, well, they've other hosted sessions they decided to run throughout the week. So they probably all know how much fuel they can take. Well, if Simon's able to save any of that, then he doesn't have to take as much fuel during the pit stop. With not that many turns around a lap here, I mean, all things considered, yes, there are 38 turns, but you're talking about a 6-mile lap. I almost wonder if that means these drivers aren't going to pit for tyres, and so you really can save some time in the pits by drafting.
Yeah, the turns per mile ratio is pretty low at this one. So we look there at Fagel running a second. Remember, Fagel sits second in the points. Peacenik sits nice corner through there for Peacenik going through, or for Fagel going through Indianapolis. Now Peacenik sits in first or third in the points, and then Hampstead, who has now gotten around Blythe. Blythe back at work, running in 4th, but Hampstead, of course, your points leader.
Yeah, but what this has inevitably done, or unintentionally done, I guess is the word I was looking for here, is it's kind of created a three-way battle for third now. Yes, Richard Hampstead got to go from 4th to 3rd in a 2-car battle, but now he's in 3rd place, looking at losing as much as 5th, because with Riley Blythe backing off and kind of picking up the toe of Justin Strickland, they've both worked their way back up to Hampstead, so we'll have 3 cars battling for that spot next time around.
And talk about Justin Strickland there. Now, I got bad rods and cones, but I'm telling you, that's pink right there. Usually Strickland races that green McLaren. But luckily Trading Paints picked that one up. Justin, that looks really pretty. The only McLaren out there right now, the only Ford is Peacenik. And I don't believe we have a BMW in the field. Would not be a friendly track for the BMW with that top speed disadvantage.
Of course, the big Hampstead boot. Moment in the final turn. I think there were a couple cars involved. Anthony Winkleman has turned around and he drops to the back of the field. But I saw at least another car off course.
He was ahead of Ian Ford. Winkleman spun right ahead of Ford. Ford got around him. And then dodging to get out of the way was the car of David Jellings. That kind of orange and white colored car there. You can see it goes off, and there goes Winkleman. Winkleman with that slowdown penalty early, and then that. France not sitting well for Winkleman.
Yeah, Winkleman's into the pits here. I haven't tested this car around the track myself. I don't know how much you really can push the fuel load. It will be interesting seeing if he could go to the end from there. Here goes Hampstead. Here goes Blythe rather, because of course Hampstead has been in front now. Blythe, his connection is back to normal. He says, "Hey Richard, remember that position I gave you? I'd like it back now."
Hampstead runs in 3rd. Blythe now back to 4th again. They got about a 1.1 second on that pink McLaren to Justin Strickland. That's your top 5. Look at that shot. What a great shot. Here they come at you. Oh my goodness, I love this.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned the drivers in 6th and 7th yet, but they're running nose to tail. In fact, they've switched positions this lap. Mark Rayner's dropped to 7th back behind Drake Maloney.
There's another long shot. It really gets you as they come over this rise here. This ride's not quite as scary with the chicanes throwing you down. Go ahead, Sam.
Hard crash for David Drellens. He just lost in the chicane. Yep. I think he's going to be done for the day.
Nosed it in right in front. He was running behind Shane Smith and in front of Ian Ford. Was running in 15th at the time. And the French track gets another one. Here we see it on board right now as we watch with Jellings. Through the chicane. This time he wasn't. Looked like he just got loose. I'm not sure if the power was down yet. And then the car would not come out. It's kind of a Velcro wall. Wouldn't let him out. Looking at Mark Rayner.
I remember once, I think I was driving the Star Mazda. I was just in a test session. I was driving it backwards around Zandvoort and got it stuck in the wall like that. And the revs went up to something that a Star Mazda should not be capable of and almost blew up my eardrums. I think I was iRacing trying to tell me, don't go around the circuits in the wrong direction. But yeah, very unfortunate to see a picker in the wall there. Yeah, and here's another battle on track.
That's Rayner getting around. I believe he's going to be able to get around Maloney.
Oh, Maloney gets loose.
I'll tell you right now, Rayner in a beautiful, it's not showing up on your screen. I have it here, a beautiful pink and white colored Mercedes there. Once again, we apologize for Trading Paints and the glitch we have with the new patch in iRacing.
Yeah, official that David Drellens has retired from the race after that incident early in the lap. And apologies if I said Warren Pickering, I'm not quite sure if I did, but he's still running up at the back, even if iRacing isn't scoring him correctly.
Now, maybe if we go up front real quick, I'm starting to get a little worried that this Ford's be able to pick him up and put him down now. He's got about a second lead on Fagel.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if Peacenik is able to break the draft here. We just had Pickering on screen. It said he was running back there back in 18th position. Yeah, that's not correct. He's actually up in 12th. Meanwhile, Philip Morton is off course and losing positions. Now he gets back on, but he's down in 11th.
This is Philip Morton, not to be confused with Jeremiah Morton. Philip is newer to the series, Jeremiah the veteran. Jeremiah running in 13th position right now. In fact, I think he's just a few positions behind Philip. In fact, let's go back and look at Jeremiah Morton running in 13th. Actually, I guess 12th in a nice battle with Mark Simon and Jackson Freer.
Yeah, we were just watching the replay of what... Oh, big moment from John Peisnick, and Fagel is going to go around him. He doesn't have a choice to back off him there. That would have caused an incident, so now Peisnick is going to be able to save fuel Baron Fagel. Maybe he did it intentionally, but he got very loose coming out of a chicane.
Ooh, there's probably easier ways to let a car around you than that. That was pretty scary there from that Ford.
Yeah, but he made it believable.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Does Peisnick not want to run in second place? Let's see what he can do down the next part of the straight here. And of course, let's not forget that the place he took the lead was down in the run towards Indianapolis, because the advantage of being in front, of course, is you're the driver that has the opportunity to pull away from the driver in second. However, Peacenik should be aware by now that
let's look at Blythe. Blythe making a move and they make contact. Blythe and Hampstead get together. Blythe is off course. Hampstead able to keep it going straight.
That could have been a lot worse than what it was.
They were side by side through the right-hand bend. Directors, does that bend have a name? Because that's where they got in trouble before they got to the hairpin. The tight right-hander. Into the Mulsanne corner here, at the end of the Mulsanne straight. See, there's a little... They got side by side, and there goes Blythe off into the beach.
He did a good job of getting that car wound down after things went wrong. Meanwhile, Peacenik has retaken the lead. He did it basically the same way he did on lap 1 of the race. And like I was saying, Bill, I'm kind of surprised in the way he did that, because at the start of the race he did it so he could try and break away from Fagel, but that wasn't working for him. Fagel was actually benefiting by running in second. So other than track position and if Fagel makes a mistake, he gets to gap him. I don't see what the benefit is here to Peisnick retaking the lead. Meanwhile, Anthony Winkelmann is now out of the race. Not 100% sure why.
I just don't think France was sitting well with him. He was certainly having his issues. You know, honestly, Sam, we don't have enough guys that have had time behind the wheel of that Ford to really tell us much here. I know I haven't spent any time behind it, and I don't think you've spent much time, so we're not sure the dynamics of that Ford. Might have better straight line speed than the Mercedes.
Trying to find if this is related to Anthony Winkelmann's retirement, but Warren Pickering is running on course right now without a hood on his Mercedes.
Well, I saw Winkelmann spun it again just a little while ago, and I think maybe that might have been... He just decided that's enough. Car might have not been feeling well after all it's been through. Winkelmann not in the chase for the championship. He's a newcomer to the series. Hopefully he'll be able to join us when the series moves to Saturdays. Quite an undertaking that the IDA has in store for us coming up in 2017.
Yeah, the incidents were not related. Warren Pickering simply got loose in one of the chicanes and nosed it into the wall, but he got back on track there. Is running last on the lead lap now. But still, there are a few retirements, so he isn't in 18th and last position, even though iRacing may beg to tell us otherwise. Meanwhile, Fagel has not dropped back of Heisnick. He's still saving fuel behind him in that battle for the lead. Hampstead has pulled away from Blythe a bit, though, in third place.
Yeah, our director has us on the best battle out there right now. It's a 3-car battle for 12th. Jackson Freer, Jeremiah Morton, and Mark Simon running nose to tail for 12th. Here comes a little bit of run from Salty Morton, looking on the, gonna duck, I think, to the, that's gonna be the outside, I believe, here as we see what, no, that's the inside coming up. He gets that done here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's really that advantageous for him to be out front of his pack. You can see it on the nose camera that he's got some damage to the front of his machine, as does Mark Simon. He's got a little bit of damage. If Jackson Freyer is the fastest one of these drivers on track, they probably want him to be out in front so that he can tow the rest of them around, and sure enough, Freyer going to go back by to the lead of the pack here.
I'll get you on the second chicane, you get me on the next one. They work through that second chicane right now, the Michelin chicane. Down the third leg of the straight.
As said, Riley Blythe dropped back off of Richard Hampstead after that incident we saw a little while ago, but he has actually run them back down for third place.
And the similar thing has happened up front too. I'm believing that Ford of Peacenik was going to pull away, but Fagel has done a good job of sticking with him.
Yeah, and of course we talk about open setup. Some drivers may have their rear wind riding a little lower than the others, so they're able to run down gaps in front of them a bit better.
%83 fuel in these cars. It doesn't mean they start with a tank that's 83% full. It's a smaller tank. Only holds 83% of what it normally would. Working here with 36 minutes to go. Almost at the halfway place.
Yeah, in fact, that means the cars will probably be pitting in the next 2 or 3 laps. In fact, they could. Some could even come in now if they think they're being held up. We'll wait and see if leaders do. I don't expect them to. They'll probably run out there a couple more laps. Sure enough, that's what Peacenik and Fagel are going to do. Hampstead yields position to Riley Blythe, but they both stay on course.
Nice battle going on there. Now we talk tires. This is only a 60-minute race. Usually that on these GT3 cars in a 60-minute race, it doesn't pay to change the rubber because you actually have to do it after you fill your fuel, and it makes your pit stop about 25 to 30 seconds longer than it normally would be. And here, especially at Le Mans, where I don't think the tire wear is quite as severe as some of the other tracks. You spend so much of your time going straight. Go ahead.
Ian Ford is out first and so far only taken into the pits. I'm surprised a couple of drivers with damage didn't join him towards the back there. But I have a feeling when they come around next time by, we'll pretty much be at the halfway point. Pit road will be very busy within the next 2 or 3 laps. Yeah, Jackson Freer had a bad exit coming out of the hairpin last time, and he actually lost both positions, I think, to Jeremiah Morton and Mark Simon. He was very close to the back of him going through the Dunlop curves there. Almost giving him the boot, which wouldn't have worked well. You kind of have to work with your competitors and Simon loses it and spins, comes back on. Freer somehow gets by.
Did not hit anything, and meanwhile, while that's going on, oh my goodness, that was, you're right, Jackson Freer almost got tagged from the rear end. Meanwhile, Erliche, it's still battling up here, and now it looks like Peacenik is going to go ahead and take this. No, I'm sorry, that's Fagel is out in front. That gunmetal Ford now drops into second.
Yeah, we'll get the replay of what happened back here to Mark Simon, because somehow he basically looped it. And when you see a car spinning in the infield and you know it's going to go back out on the track, Bill, you really don't know what you can do. Do you go left?
There was no way to tell which way this car was going. He was weaving like he was drunk, and then he loops it around And
Yeah,
just getting
Freya.
around.
He must have a triple screen setup there.
Let's watch him saw on the wheel. This is what you call a tank slapper here. Oh, this is Freer. Look it up. Which way do you go on this one, Sam? As this car in front of you is weaving back and forth.
Oh, there's no question. If I was Jackson Freya, I would have been involved in this incident.
And there's nice stuff. Look at the art director, Joe Peak, moving that onboard camera around. Nice job.
Very interesting that Fagel finally decided to take a lead from Piesnik here, Bill. And the reason I think he's done it is because he knows pit stops are about to begin. He saved the fuel that he's going to save. Now he needs the track position. Obviously, you save about a second or two in around the pit stops by being the guy in front. So now maybe this means Fagel's going to come into the pit this time by. We'll have to wait and see. It could give him a bit of an advantage here. Of course, that advantage will be all for naught if they come out nose to tail on track again, because then it will just come down to whoever wins the battle on the last lap, which will be great also.
Well, I'm not sure if Piesnik is not happy to be in second. Piesnik was almost an entire second faster in qualifying than Fagel was. The last thing that Fagel needs is for Piesnik to pull in to the pits after Fagel has gone by, and then have Fagel come out and run a hot lap and leave him behind. They both stay out this time, though.
Yeah, a bit surprised about that. I wonder how much of that is pace, Bill, that he was a second faster in qualifying. As yeah,
pass
we see about
pass for fourth there.
Yeah. Blythe by Strickland. I wonder how much of that was pace, but I almost wonder how much of it was perhaps Piesnik just had a better draft. He had more drafting opportunities during his qualifying lap.
You know, Sam, you're absolutely right. I forget that this is open qualifying, which means you can get assisted. And of course, that gunmetal Ford blends right into the tarmac there. You might not even know he's behind you.
Of course, I could be completely wrong on that. Meanwhile, Ian Ford, one driver who was pit, has pulled off to the side of the track. I don't think he's crashed, but either way, he's out of the race now.
Mark Simon has come in. I think Sam might have called that one with a little bit of psychic powers.
Nope. What happened to Ford here, Bill?
Ooh. We didn't... Yeah. Through the Porsche curves there. Now, that's one of the fun parts of the track that I like. This track, when I was out here, reminded me of Disneyland, where there's a lot of fun time, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Then there's more fun, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Of course, in Disneyland, you stand stationary in lines while you're waiting. Here, you just go straight at about 200 miles an hour.
There's something called a fast pass for that, you know that, Bill?
That takes all the fun out of Disneyland. I'm old school. Simon Fagel out in front of John Piesnik. Sorry, Piesnik. Hampstead and Riley Blythe. Strickland doing a great job running fifth in that pink McLaren.
Warren Pickering doing an excellent job. Even if iRacing probably says he's still in last place, he's actually up to 12th now without a hood on his car, and I think he's actually been running down and passing cars.
Jeremiah Morton, your last car on the... No, this is incorrect. Let me change that. It's Ian Ford is the last car on the lead lap. He's still in the pits. He has not come out.
He had that incident last lap, Bill. He took a tow into the pit road.
It doesn't look like he's be coming out. So Mark Simon is the last car on the lead lap. Running in 12th. And actually the last car out there running, I believe. As all the other cars have called it a day. We look at this battle that has gone on the entire race.
Yeah, I think Simon's actually back in 14th place. It says he was in 13th, but of course it's not, because it's not scoring Pickering.
Oh.
Boy, that got close.
And then almost getting into it was Strickland in the McLaren as this 3-car race up here for third. And Strickland has worked his way up into this.
See, this is where it would be a smart idea to pit. The problem is, I think pit road is going to be very busy this time, By. You probably should have pit the previous lap to get out of all of this.
Strickland took a peek on the outside of Blythe and decided better of it. You got 2 Mercedes up there and then the McLaren.
Top 2 leaders stay out one more time. We're over the halfway point as far as time is concerned of this race. Hampstead stays out, all of them. This whole battle is staying out, which does surprise me. They do have a pretty wide window here, Bill, but I'm not sure why they're not taking advantage of it to pit now and get out of this battle. Sure, they're getting a draft, but they run the risk of if something goes wrong, all 3 are going to be wadded up in it.
If I were Peacenik, I would think that if I thought I was truly faster, I would peel off. I would like to get behind Fagel, let him go by pit lane, and then duck in behind. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't do that. You know, we have Mercedes, Fords, and 1 McLaren and 1 Ford out there with a bunch of Mercedes. I believe our top Audi is Clint Smith running in 8th position right now. As I continue to look, he might be the only Audi that's actually running on the track.
And we almost had 1 less Mercedes. Nino Natel gets into the wall, but just scrapes up the left side and gets back on track. Still running in... Well, iRacing says 12th position, actually 13th.
We ride on board with Nino right now. Ow! That was harder than I was led to believe.
Yeah, and he's actually brought it back into the pits. He of course, is one of the drivers who's already pit. Interesting, Bill, I don't think there's any tyre changes going on, but 2 of our drivers that have pit, himself and Ian Ford, have gone right back out on track and had problems. Meanwhile, changed for 3rd place.
Hampstead gets around Blythe. We've seen that before. The guy who isn't playing the game is Justin Strickland back there. And honestly, I think Hampstead and Blythe have kind of fallen back into the clutches of Strickland. I don't think Justin really ran them down. It was all that fighting and mistakes that the 2 guys up in front were making brought them down together. But that McLaren certainly has some good straight line speed, at least behind those 2 cars.
And a lead change coming up. Peacenik wants to lead them into the pits. Why not? He's going to take that top spot from Fagel. Sure enough, Fagel backs out a little bit there before they get to Indianapolis. I always forget how long this straight is.
There's that little right-hand bend that sets up the 90-degree left-hander. And then this sharper 90-degree right-hander. All right, now let's see if this is it, if Peacenik's positioned himself to come on in this time.
I mean, I'm sure they can make it another 1 or 2 laps on fuel. I just don't really think if you're involved in a battle that's holding you up. Granted, I don't think any of these battles, as Hampstead looks for 3rd place again on Blythe, I don't think any of these battles are holding each other up. But I'm thinking if you have the opportunity to break away from them and around the pit stops, you might want to take it.
Talked about the points difference. Fagel needs to finish in front of Hampstead. Hampstead currently running in 3rd, but that could change by the time I finish this sentence, as Riley Blythe could get him back. And here comes our first one. Peacenik comes in. I think this is... I really would have thought that Fagel should have followed him in. Let's see. Maybe Fagel thinks he can distance himself now. So the Ford is in.
Yeah, and he's the only one of the top 5. Now, Fagel is, if you watch Formula 1, this is what we call hammer time. That's what he's going to have to do here. I know there's a particular driver that has trademarked that term. This is going to be Fagel time.
My timing and scoring is wrong, and I didn't take notes. I'm not sure who our benchmark is who have pitted. I don't think it's really going to matter, because John Piesnick was so far out in front, I expect him to come out ahead of anybody who's already made that stop.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a quick pit stop. No chance he took tyres. We don't expect him to have. And he's dropped back to 7th position. But of course, everyone in front of him still has to pit.
Comes out in front of Shane Smith and Philip Morton. So now, let's see if Simon stays out. Maybe Fagel can run some faster laps as the car gets lighter without fuel. Maybe that's what he's thinking. We'll see how big this window is. 83% by the series organizers. It makes you think that they had something in mind when they came up with that specific number, 83. That's the kind of number when you ask for it, like for a ransom, it says, hey, wait a minute, why are they asking for $437,963? Something's fishy. Not following my logic there, Sam? Did I lose you on that one?
No, director just pointed something out in the chat, and I was trying to take a look at a car. So it's three-way battle for third. There's now a three-way battle for second place, of course, temporarily, but...
We'll go ahead and get a picture of this. Remember, director, I don't know how you're going to get it. Maybe
you're reading the director's note, aren't you?
A blimp shot of this. I have a good shot. There is, of course, remember, the IDA is going. There you see it. That's a pink bra on the top of that Ford in honor of Breast Cancer Week. I've never quite seen it tributed that way. I don't know what to say about that.
Meanwhile, there's a motor race going on. Let's see, how was Fagel time working out for Simon? Well, it's kind of hard to tell right now. We're not going to find out until he re-emerges from the pit. Of course, the key is, even if he is having a bad lap, how much time has he saved himself in the pits by saving fuel draft in Piesnick for the first half of this race?
Timing and scoring won't let me give you an actual distance. Well, maybe I can here. Let's see if I have another way to look at this one. See if I can give you timing all the way back to Fagel, or the distance between our leader and Piesnick. Nope, can't do it.
Meanwhile, you see this battle for second, third and fourth are still all nose to tail, but behaving right now. Rayner and Maloney run 5th and 6th. Those are the other two cars in front of Piesnick for now. And Fagel stays out one more time. Let's see what his lap time was here then, because his last few laps have been 3 minute 59, 3 minute 58. Now he has the track all to himself. He runs another 3 minute 59. In fact, only 1/1000th of a second slower than what he had the previous lap. And meanwhile, the battle for second comes in.
And that interval, I could find it for you. Back to 7th position, John Piesnick is 40 seconds back. Actually 39.6, but let's round it up.
Alright, Hampstead ahead of Blythe, ahead of Strickland. What order will they return to the racetrack?
Meanwhile,
Tell you what, Rayner's actually closer to them than what I thought he was.
Jake
and look
Maloney
at that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill. They all have pit stalls nose to tail as well, so they're not getting away from each other at all.
Now I'll get my thought out. Jake Maloney takes over second spot. Of course, he has yet to pit. Started 9th all the way up to 2nd.
Yeah, long
Strickland.
Hampstead. Strickland wins the race out of pit road ahead of Blythe. Hampstead's still in there. He must be taking tires.
I would really be surprised if he meant to take tires. Now, remember, Strickland was following in the draft the entire time, so he probably used less fuel, could take on less. Out in front now of Blythe. Where is Hampstead? Now he's finally out. Quite an interval back. Oh, look at this. Strickland gets a slowdown penalty, I think. He's now side by side. Not sure what happened there. He just almost gave up the ghost there and let Blythe get on the inside of him. Now he fights back.
Yeah, but as they run side by side, that's going to create a giant hole in the air for the aerodynamically challenged Warren Pickering. Also, the timing scoring challenge for the Warren Pickering back there.
Oh, maybe we can get a replay of this. Strickland got loose and almost put it in the wall. That's why they were so close.
And that's going to cost him the position to Blythe there.
You can watch how close to the left-hand side of this car. It's coming up right here. Not this one. It's going to be on this next right-hander. The car gets really wide, and he gets out there in the grass, and he kept it off the Armco. And was able to muscle it back down and keep that position.
It's very odd, Bill. Even though we don't see these drivers changing tyres, it seems we've seen a lot today. Drivers just come out of a pits and make a mistake. I'm guessing maybe because their tyres have cooled off a bit, or maybe they're just trying to push it to make up time on their outlap.
I believe now with this new, it wasn't this patch, but on the new build, I think they put the tire warmers now for the GT3, so that should help out a little bit. Jake Maloney running in second right now, ahead of Piesnik. Then there's another battle here with Smith and Morden. Now remember, Maloney, Smith, and Morden still need to come in. And Morden is Philip Morden, the unsalty version. In fact, here comes Philip Morden right now, making a move inside Shane Smith. Shane says, go ahead and take it. Shane, I believe, the only Audi on the track right now. Not sure if it's the only Audi that entered the race.
No, we had a couple of Audis retire earlier on. I've never heard the driver called Unsalted.
Unsalted, that's right. And now Smith is going to get this spot back as Philip Morden missed the apex.
Fagel stays up for another lap. He stays out for another lap, rather. He's still yet to pit, another 3:59, and now we're going to get a good time for John Piesnik. What he can do without having to worry about traffic around him. Well,
I'm afraid Piesnik is really putting down some good times. I think he's knocked off about 2 seconds off that interval. Simon, I really think you've got to come in soon, or you're going to find yourself left behind. You don't want to leave John Piesnik in that Ford to his own devices.
Alright, let's find out for sure. Across the line, 3:59 time to beat, 3:57. Sure enough, he did knock out a couple of seconds there. Drake Maloney had been running in second position. He's in the pit. Clint Smith and Philip Morton are in the pits, and I think Jeremiah Morton may have not pit yet, but other than that, it's just Fagel that we're waiting for now. Oh, Warren Pickering then too.
So they went about 45 minutes.
Yeah, Warren Pickering, to give you an update, because our time in the scoring continues to show him in 18th. He's been running just outside the top 10 most of the race, even with that substantial damage, which hasn't been too shabby for him, considering the fact he started back in 15th.
I certainly understand the tribute to breast cancer awareness, but it makes for some pretty hideous paint schemes there. Pickering's car is orange and yellow with pink wheels.
Well, it's hard to miss.
It is. Sometimes I'm glad I'm colorblind. Okay, Simon Fagel, this is your pit box calling. It's time to come in. Boy, he's got a ways to go, too.
Yeah, and look at that, Bill. I mean, we're talking about he's only stayed out for 3 laps extra or something along those lines than the rest of the leaders, but he's only got 14 minutes left now when he gets out the pit. And the problem with that is if this doesn't work out for him, because I think, as we mentioned, he's going to have a shorter stop because of how much fuel he saved in the draft. If this doesn't work out for him and Peisnick has a couple of seconds lead on him when he comes out, with only, about 10 minutes left to go in the race when he gets back around to the front straight, he's not going to have a lot of time to run down Peisnick.
We're watching this battle on screen. Strickland gets around Blythe. Blythe almost comes back on him on the same section of the straight. It's a good battle going on for third position right now. All right. And Maloney has made his stop. Here we got another battle. Look at Blythe taking a peek on the inside. My timing. Oh, Maloney get a little bit loose. Has Maloney come in?
Yes, he has. Maloney and Rayner have been the drivers battling for 6th and 7th all race long. Now, of course, they're in 5th and 6th with Hampstead dropping back, and Maloney's just been able to get up into this battle for 3rd. Now you see Hampstead has actually gone in front of Rayner, so now he'll be trying to run back down Maloney and get those positions back on those newer tyres. Alright, this is pit control and Master Fagel. Fagel time has not been as impressive as Hammer time, and sure enough, Simon is bringing the number 85 machine into the pits. Mind you, I say it wasn't as impressive. How much fuel has he saved? We will wait and find out in just a few seconds here. What will be the difference between him and Peisnick on the track?
Peisnick working his way. I believe this is the Porsche S's right now. My director will correct me if I'm wrong. Now he's through that section. Coming up on pit entrance here. Of course, he's not going to come in. He's already done it. So now he has this left and right and left and right. He'll be back on the main straight. Fagel's got to get moving.
He's not. Now he is. I think it might be a little too late though. He's right at the exit of pit road, which will help him.
And there goes the Ford. Now, can you get that Merc round up? Oh, get that baby going. Find those gears and see if you can tuck in behind Peisnick. You might be close enough. It's an interval. It's about 10 car lengths right now.
He's close enough if he does anything right. He can't afford to make a mistake here. And I've seen a couple of little bobbles out of Peisnick here. As long as Fagel is close enough to get the draft on this lap, the fight is still on. I'm worried if Peisnick pulled out just a tiny bit more on him, Fagel wouldn't have anything. Now, what's the straight line speed difference between these two cars? Right now, Fagel is running a tiny bit faster than Peisnick. I think he's safe. He's still in the game here.
I think I saw Simon flashing his lights, saying, "I'm still there, John. I'm hanging with you." He's got it now. He's closing up. Now he just can't make a mistake as he works his way through the first chicane. He's closed up considerably since they came on the straight.
Meanwhile, Riley Blythe has actually broken away from that battle for third a little bit. Strickland and Maloney are running quite close for fourth and fifth. Now they can still run Blythe down. In fact, they do run Blythe down at the end of the straight there. But Blythe was definitely trying to break away.
The guy to keep an eye on is Richard Hampstead with that horrible pit stop. He only has 10 minutes to make up some time. He's got about 5.5 seconds to jink Maloney. Maybe, Richard, you can come in. Usually we're used to talking to you when you win. Maybe you can come in and tell us what the heck happened. Let's look at the Corvette, sorry. The McLaren of Strickland making a move on Blythe. That's a nice battle for third.
Yeah, so Blythe's on third, still in third right now. He had a big gap over them, but of course that gap counts for naught if the drivers behind you still have a draft going down these long straights. The interesting thing here, Bill, is when they cross the line, which will be in over a minute's time, I think. I think we're only going to have 2 laps left. How much fuel did these drivers put in?
And it is a just in case. There was a time in this race where we could catch the leaders and the guys behind them, first and second in the battle for third, fourth, and fifth, all in one shot. Not going to happen anymore, as the leaders are out in front by about 23 seconds now. But Bagel has caught up to the back of that Ford. Good news for both of these guys. Peacenik running third in the points, Fagel running second in the points. They're going to make up some ground right now as the guy they're chasing, Richard Hampstead, currently running in 6th.
Watching the clock at the top of the screen there, and let's see, these drivers, they've only got those last couple of chicanes to go through, but those take a long time. I think for sure it is safe to say there will be 2 laps left to go when they cross the line.
Should take them about 7 minutes and 50 seconds to run 2 laps, and we're at 7:53 right now. They're going to be away, so I think Sam has nailed this one. I think they crossed the line, that lap, and one more.
Of course, my track record took a bit of an impact at Laguna Seca, but I think I'm doing it right this time. Anyhow, as you mentioned, Bill, we've still got a very close battle for third. These drivers need to be careful. They've still got 8 minutes left.
8 minutes to go, but if you have a favorite place on the track where you want to make your pass, you're only going to see it twice.
Mark Rayner just spun from 7th, gets back out on the track, is trying to get back up to power before the next car for position comes round. Easy to do because Clint Smith was about 20 seconds behind him.
Rayner has a hard time. We can stay with it. Actually, you can see the hard time he has getting that car back straight again. Let's stay with it for a little bit longer here, Director. He gets it out here. Then, Lord, this feels like me. You get the power down, spin it around. Whoops! Which way am I going?
I think these drivers are very glad, Bill, there's only 2 laps left. I wonder how many of them would be pushing it if it was 3 laps to go.
You know, you have to be careful of it. We talk about how many laps there are. It all depends where those leaders come across. If they were about 20 seconds slower, we'd be going another lap. Does that make sense? I don't know. In my mind, it does.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does this time. Riley Blythe looking for third place on Justin Strickland here. Oh, Strickland backs out early, they yield the position, and then Maloney almost ran into the back of him and takes 4th as a result. Now Maloney might be thinking about 3rd, which would be something worth noting.
Oh, let's go to the lead. A mistake by Peacenik has cost him the lead. We can probably get it on lead play. They were coming out of the second chicane. He got a little bit loose with that Ford, and Fagel took advantage. Watch that gunmetal Ford up in front here as they work their way through here. Getting the power, before he gets the power down, the car gets a little bit loose. And there goes Simon. But Peacenik right behind him. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I wondered if we could have continued on that replay. Justin Strickland made the power move from 5th to get back up into 3rd. Blythe and Maloney were running nose to tail, just trying to draft off each other, and
Here comes
thinking about passing each other
Peacenik in the Ford again. And Peacenik side by side, and he's going to power muscle that Ford past the Mercedes. Peacenik back out in front. Boy, that was a short-lived lead. Simon had it for about, 2 sentences.
Now, of course, the thing here is they'll actually be coming to the white flag this time by. So they're really going to have to play the strategy out for the long straights the next time around. So yeah, Strickland made a move 2 in 1 to get back up into 3rd place. He's holding on to 3rd right now. And it'll be interesting to see how this battle shapes up too.
2 to watch. Strickland, Blythe, and Maloney battling for 3rd. And then Peacenik and Fagel.
In the before the pit stops, Bill, we had a lot of battles out there on track. These are really the only 2 packs left. Now, if this second pack battles enough, Richard Hampstead is in the background there, but I think they'd really have to hold each other up enough for Hampstead to get involved. Meanwhile, the leaders are coming into the last couple of chicanes. There's less than 4 minutes left on the clock. We are about to see the first final lap here on the GSRC at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
There they work through that. The Ford gets a little squirrely. Let's see if... I'm not even sure Fagel would like to do it here. He's right behind him. He could probably force the issue now if he wants to. Gets up behind him. Yeah, he is. He goes side by side. Let's see how many passes for the lead we have on this last lap. Let's count them. There's one. Simon Fagel out in front of John Peasley. The Mercedes in front of the Ford.
For now.
Car number 85 in front of the car number 555.
Yeah, wonder how many Mercedes and Ford executives are here rooting on their cars.
Oh, Strickland is spun. Strickland got punted. We'll see if we can cover it and not miss the battle for the lead. Maloney punted Strickland off. We'll go to replay, and I'll keep an eye on the leaders here.
Yeah, and the big championship story there is that Hampstead gets by them both and is now up into 4th place as Piesnik retakes the lead.
And sure enough, Piesnik got the lead. It wasn't that exciting of a pass. He got it down the first part of the Mulsanne straight. Now they go through the chicane.
It's not the last pass for the lead either.
Nope.
Here we'll see what happens with Maloney punting Strickland. And as we mentioned, Maloney kind of went off course when that happened. That moves Hampstead up into 4th, which is bad news for our 2 leaders right now. It means they won't gain as many points on Richard. In fact, Hampstead could be looking for 3rd by the end of this race.
Now we'll stay on the leaders. We've had 2 passes for the lead on the last lap. Here comes the Mercedes. The Ford is going to give them the inside line. The Mercedes is not going to take it.
Yeah, well, Piesnik drove in too hot, and that's going to hurt him on the exit here. Now, does Fagel make his move now and lead in the hairpin, but that would open himself to an attack again by Piesnik going into Indianapolis, or does he try and make a move into Indianapolis? He's going to go on the outside of Piesnik here, but I don't think he's got enough of a run. I think John is still going to have the lead. Oh, side by side, no. John does have a lead going into Indianapolis. They almost make contact as Piesnik retakes that line. Now, this is the last easy overtaking opportunity. Fagel is far back enough where he can get a run on him down this long straight going into Indianapolis. Piesnik will probably try and defend to the left, defend to the inside here. Sure enough, he wanders over that way, trying to make Fagel think about what way he's going to go. Fagel goes to the inside. He's got the racing line here. How much of a fight will Piesnik put up, and can Piesnik counter-attack in the last part of the lap? If he does lose the lead, he's putting up a fight. Fagel takes the lead. What can Piesnik do in these final few turns?
The Mercedes back out in front. I've lost track of how many passes they have. He works through the right-hander now. They got to go through the S's. The Ford is loose on that right-hander. Now Fagel starts to get a little bit of a gap. He's got about 4 car lengths. The Ford is going to have to hustle. Piesnik's got to get the power down.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake by Piesnik. He kind of overdrove that right-hander. He's still within striking distance.
Oh, he's got a great run. Fagel cuts him off. He's not going to let him do it there as they work their way through the Porsche S's.
Let's not forget, this is still a good points day for these two. If they tangle, this could give Hampstead the championship. But I don't think they can tangle now. I think Piesnik has missed one too many opportunities here.
Just a couple little bends here, and then they get to the chicane at the end. It's going to be hard to get it done here. We'll keep an eye on that Porsche. It's got 2 car lengths back. They work the left. Here comes that gunmetal machine. They work the right. They work the left. They work the right. Now it's getting the power down. Round 13 of the IDA GT3 series goes to Simon Fagel. John Piesnik gets second.
Yeah, and Hampstead has moved up into 3rd place. So Richard Hampstead goes from 6th to 3rd on the final lap. He made the move on Riley Blythe. And those top two are
Amazing.
going to be glad they brought it home across the line in first and second. Well, Peacenik might not be that happy, but yeah, Hampstead takes a really good points day there in the end.
Hampstead was only a few minutes ago was running in 6th. Blythe and Strickland, I believe, are going to get 4th and 5th, and Maloney is going to get 6th. We'll watch this battle right now. Here comes Strickland ahead of Maloney. I think Maloney going to surrender that spot, knowing that he turned Strickland. Maloney takes 6th. Mark Rayner
takes
comes
7th,
across.
Yep. Then another good race by Clint Smith. He's had a couple of those recently there in 8th position, ahead of Philip Morton. I forget, is that the salty or the unsalty Morton there, Bill?
That is the unsalted version there.
Okay, and iRacing's not going to say this. Well, it is officially in the official time in the score, and that's a good thing, but it won't say it on screen. But Warren Pickering is going to salvage a 10th place finish from 15th on the grid in a Mercedes with no hood. That wasn't even being scored by half of a time in scoring systems today. So congratulations, Mr. Pickering there.
Now remember, these points are important because Jeremiah Morden currently running in 11th. There is a battle for that team championship, so all these points matter as Morden brings this car. Going to come across. Is he going to get it ahead of Jackson Freer? A little bit of a battle going on here with Morden. Morden is really slow. Is Jackson Freer going to get him? Looks like Morden's going to bring it across. Timing and scoring is saying 11th.
Yeah, they're 11th and 12th. No, it says 10th and 11th
That's right.
on screen, but that's because of Warren Pickering. The last driver on the lead lap is Mark Simon in 13th position, not 12th position as it says. 2 minutes behind the leader. That's not too bad after 1 hour of racing and an eventful day as the nose of the car tells you there for Mark Simon.
And I believe Nino Natal had the car running, even though he's 4 laps down, was out there running. So 14 cars running at the end. 4 cars could not make it all the way through. Okay, this is the Global Sim Racing Channel. We're going to take a short break. We will come back to run down the entire field, driver interviews, and close-up shot. Back in a few. My partner Samuel Ryman here with me, Bill Soups on for the Global Sim Racing Channel, covering the IDA GT3 series. This is round 13 of 15 from Le Mans, our first race for GSRC, and it was a pretty darn good one. Your winner today, Simon Fagel, brought it home about a half second ahead of John Piesnik. We lost track of how many passes for the lead on that last one. I got 4, maybe it was 3. The luckiest guy in the world, Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead. Going into, I think, the last lap, he was 6th. He ends up in 3rd. Trouble befalls Riley Blythe, Justin Strickland, and Jake Maloney as they come across 4th, 5th, and 6th. 7th goes to Mark Rayner, a very quiet 7th. Clint Shane Smith in the top car for the Audi in 8th. Philip Morton, Tricks, they call him, in 9th. And then Jeremiah Salty Morton, a pair of Mortons down there in 9th and 10th. Sam?
Yeah, and we're a bit confused here because we saw Warren Pickering cross the line in 10th place, but there you see iRacing is scoring him in 13th position. We'll have to wait and see how they sort that out in the points after the race. Jackson Freer and Mark Simon were in 11th and 12th. And then you get to the drivers that had trouble during the race: Nino Natel, Ian Ford, Anthony Winkleman, David Jellins and Aaron Farmer. And we mentioned Tim Fatuz was in the practice session, but he's not showing up on the time in the scoring there. So yeah, we had 18 starters, 14 finishes, 13 on the lead lap. And at the end of the day, Bill, we got some very happy drivers at the front end of the field.
And Warren Pickering, if you need anybody to testify, Sam and I, for a small fee, are willing to do that at the appeals process. So hopefully you can get your spots back. All right, let's go ahead and do our interviews. I'm going to get to talk to Simon Fagel here today. Let's bring him on in. Simon, congratulations on the win. I don't know how many passes for the lead there were on the last lap, or for the whole race for that matter. Did you enjoy Le Mans?
Yeah, it was good. It was a real strategic battle the whole time. I knew the Mercedes didn't quite have the top end of the Ford, so it was always going to be, my only way of sort of competing was going to be to just stick in the draft and just conserve fuel, and then have a shorter stop, and then hopefully that was going to be enough. So, and when I saw John come in early and the lap times he was pulling, I could see them on my screen. A couple of laps were 2 seconds faster than I was, so I knew it was going to be tight, but. Yeah, managed to get there in the end, and I knew the right spot to pass, and my car was actually particularly strong in that section. I just never used it until the end, so it's a good strategic race, and John's a very good racer. It's all clean, so that was a lot of fun.
Well, let's go back to the pit strategy. Honestly, you had me a bit worried there because I was looking at Piesnik all by himself running without you in the draft. He was faster than you, and I was worried. I think if you would have stayed out one more lap, I guess you couldn't have stayed out another lap. It would have been trouble.
No, 2 litres wouldn't have got very far. So that's how much I had left in the tank at the end. But no, it was good. I mean, I was able to, conserve like truckloads, during that first stint. Even though I did take the lead for probably about 3 or 4 laps there as well in the middle, where he would have actually been conserving. So I was a little bit worried that he was going to actually get a bit too much. But in the end, ended up okay. I was kind of surprised to end up only a second behind him when I came out of the stop. I sort of thought that he was going to be a little bit further ahead. And I mean, had he just been second and a half further, he would have broken me. So it was that close.
Well, good news, bad news for you. The good news is you win, you finish ahead of Green Eggs, so you are still mathematically in the hunt here. The bad news is Richard Hampstead's got to be the luckiest son of a gun in the world. He was running in 6th, and next time we look up, my gosh, he's on the podium. Were you able to watch the where he was on the timing and scoring while you were racing?
Yeah, a little bit. Also, my teammate Riley was I know was battling with him, so I know that he'd had an issue, which then subsequently when I saw it said P3, I was like, you got a bit lucky there. But Richard's got a very strong lead in the championship, even though it's mathematically possible. Realistically, it's kind of between me and John for second, really, and that's kind of what today was all about. And I think we were both fighting pretty hard for that. Yeah,
it was an entertaining race. I'm glad it was. We were here to cover it. Good luck at when we go to Monza next time for the shootout. Hope that goes well for you, and congratulations on the win today.
Beautiful. Thanks very much, and thanks to Logitech G for their continuous support of the team.
Simon Fagel, your winner here for the first ever GSRC race at Le Mans. Sam, who do you want to talk to?
Now let's go down to our second place finisher, John Peasnick.
There we go. We got it.
Yeah, here we are. Hello, John. Second place finisher here today. I know you wanted to win. How happy are you, though, with the finish, considering the clean racing you had out there with Simon?
Yeah, how you going, guys? Yeah, man, overall, I'm pretty happy. Of course, yeah, as you said, I would have loved to win. And I tried my hardest to try and figure out a way to outdo him strategy-wise or some way. I knew I had the raw pace, but I just couldn't break the draft. So that's the reason why I pitted early, to try and get a little bit of a gap. But I made a bit of an error there, which cost me probably the second that I needed after the pit stop. But overall, yeah, fun. I'm good friends with Simon, so good clean racing, and yeah, overall still pretty happy.
Yeah, I mentioned when I saw you come out the pits, you made a couple of little bobbles out there on the circuit that allowed Simon to catch you. You weren't the only driver though, even though it didn't seem like a lot of drivers were taking tyres. A lot of you were all coming out of the pits, and then we saw 2 or 3 cars wad up in the wall on their outlaps. Was there something about just having the tyres sit for that much time that cooled them down and led to that trouble?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but like just with it's a very, it might look like a simple track, but it is mighty complicated. I was just having dramas getting the power down out of the slow corners, and obviously trying to push at times with Simon behind me to get a run so he can't get in the tow. Just sometimes making little errors, and unfortunately on my second outlap I got a slow down, which made me do a 359. So if I did a 357 there, I could have maybe had a gap of 2 or 3 seconds after the stop. So my error there that cost me, but all good fun.
Yeah, so how did the final lap go when Fagel put his final pass on you? You then went into the right hand and you kind of overdrove it. Did you know at that point that the race was over, or were you thinking already, there aren't a whole lot of overtaking opportunities left?
Yeah, I was hoping on that last overtake where we were going side by side, I was hoping his car was going to wobble a little bit on the outside there. It didn't want to hang on. But if I didn't muck up that little right-hander, I actually hit the curb, like the car bounced up on the curb, which sort of pushed it on a little bit. If I didn't do that, and I had a good run, we could have went side by side into the S's, which would have made it a little bit different. But yeah, once that corner didn't go to plan, I knew it was pretty much done unless he made a mistake in the final sector there.
Right, well, still a solid performance, and you and Simon put a great show on here for our first GSRC broadcast on the Circuit de la Sarthe. We look forward to seeing you back in action in a couple of weeks' time. I believe you'll be at Monza.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. Can't wait for Monza. It's going to be a pretty important one. So, again, another bit of a top speed track and draft, so it's going to be another cat and mouse strategy sort of race, so let's see how we go.
Alright, and we'll see John and Simon back in action in a couple of weeks' time. Bill, sir, who else we got lined up here?
I think I got our final podium finisher here. We're going to talk to Richard Greenacres and Hampstead here. Richard, let's talk about the race in a couple sections. Before we go to the end, let's talk about the horrible pit stop. I'm going to guess speeding penalty. What happened?
No, it was a good pit stop. I put rear tires on. So.
Oh, did you mean to put on rear tires?
Absolutely.
Oh, are you glad you put on rear tires?
Absolutely. Well,
okay.
I was just gonna. Well, I mean, I didn't lose anything out of it. I was third, and I finished third. So
yeah, okay. Because of the rear tires. All right, let's go then to the. You were running down those guys ahead of you, then they all started to horseplay a little bit, and the next thing I know, you're running in 6th. The Salmon are saying, well, maybe Richard can get to 5th. I look up, and there you are on the podium. My gosh, you're fast and you're good. You're lucky too.
Yeah, no, well, I was struggling massively with rear tire. The condition of the rears before the stop. Anyway, so I thought didn't have a huge amount to lose by trying something different, and yeah, the likelihood that I would have crashed if I didn't put on rear tires was fairly high. So thought I may as well chuck them on and see what happened, and fortunately it paid off. So yeah, pretty happy with that.
Do you think that's because I didn't hear that from the other guys who were you were racing a Merc, are you not? Am I correct in that?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that your driving style? Do you think that burns up the rear tires more than somebody else?
Not generally. I did have quite a few fairly large slides, which probably wore out the rears more than anything. And I might have been running a slightly lower rear wing setting than them too, but my rears were in a really bad state before the stop. So,
Got it.
I think changing them was probably a good call at the end of the day.
All right, well, we'll get you out of here on this. We think that if you show up and have any kind of decent performance here at Monza, you should be able to clinch the championship there. Now, you're out of drop races, though. So is there anything in your life, like a sister's wedding or maybe some type of storm in Australia that could cause a problem next week? Or are you pretty certain you're going to be there?
Hopefully not. No, as far as I'm aware, should have a clear schedule for it. So, yeah, should be fine.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Of course, coming up Monza, that's the big shootout, and GSRC is going to be there for the whole thing. So good luck, not only in the race, but in the shootout that'll set it up, man. Good race today.
All right, cheers, guys.
Richard, Green Eggs and Hampstead, your overall point leader and third today. I'm looking for a cue from the director if we are done or if we're going for one more interview, and he tells me that it's early in the morning here in the States and it's time to close it up. I'm going to take one quick interview. Hang on, I'm just going to do one. I'm breaking the rules here. Phil, we have time for one quick question for you. What the heck is Trix? Is that going to be the nickname?
That's the nickname. Has been since the days of Diablo 1.
All right, buddy, you got it. That's hey, congratulations on. Are you? Second question. Boy, they're gonna fire me here at GSRC. Any relation to Jeremiah? Are you guys brothers or?
To get in touch with him. I don't know if he's a relative Morton or not.
Okay, my distance one. Hey, well, congratulations on the top 10 today, and good luck at Monza, man.
Thank you. Just want to say a shout out to Dynamic Sim Racing, and thanks to them as well.
Thank you. There we go. 9th place finish from Trix Morton. Okay, they're going to take that interview out of my paycheck, I think. Let's go ahead and wrap up shop now. We'd like to thank everybody, if I can find my place in the script here, everybody at the iRacing Drivers Association for organizing this series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Hey, thanks to the Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia for sponsoring this broadcast. We sure do appreciate that. It's a fun series to cover. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen now that we use on our broadcast. The original music you've heard on today's broadcast is thanks to Eric Eckelm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact them. And please, when you're listening to their music, put on some headphones to enjoy the stereo separation. The next race for the iRacing Driver Association is next week, November 2nd, when the sister series, the Formula Renault, man, that is fun to watch, races at Laguna Seca. Open wheelers at Laguna Seca. Woohoo! You don't want to miss it. Come on. We'll be here. So hope you guys come with us. The GT3 series is back in 2 weeks for round 14 from Monza. And remember, we've talked about it. GSRC will be there to air the 45 minutes earlier than normal to cover the entire shootout format. That'll be a lot of fun. If you'd like to find out more information about GSRC, including upcoming events and archive races, your best bet is GlobalSimRacingChannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Okay, finally, on behalf of my mic mate Sam Ryman, our director Joe Peak, and our camera artist Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And now that said, it's time for us to go have fun storming the castle. So until next time, let's hope each day finds you in a state of yellow.